always be prepared, as I was not. Okay, so for the letters, you're going to first write, if you have the first level, you're going to do 3 or 4 letters per class. So we'll say we start with A. You're going to write the uppercase and lowercase letters. You can say big letter and small letter for the kids. T, H, M. And you may be asking, why are you introducing these letters in this order? So we selected these letters based on the word families that we're going to start with. So for this camp, we're going to start with the word family AT, all words that end in AT. So we chose letters that through the AT word family, you can build as many words as possible. So the letter order will be based on the word family AT. So the first letters we're going to talk about are B, C, M, H, P, R, S, and F. So this is the reasoning for that. With the letters, first you write them on the board, and the goal here is to have the students recognize the symbol and match the sound with it. So seeing this, they know A. Seeing this, they know T. Seeing this, they know H and M. And to introduce, if you have a big group of students, you can first start with the whole group. So everybody A, and they can repeat A, T, T, H, H, M, M. And then you can split it into smaller groups. So if the students are sitting in rows, you can number each row. So row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. You say row 1, stand up. And row 1 has to stand up and say A. Okay, row 2, stand up. Row 2 has to stand up and say T. Row 3, stand up, M. And row 4, H. 3. And you mix it up to make sure the students are paying attention. If you keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the kids anticipate, and when it's not their turn, they don't pay attention. So if you go row 1, stand up. Row 3, stand up. Row 3, stand up. Row 4, stand up. Row 2, it mixes it up. And you can also do 2 rows at once. You can say row 1 and row 2, stand up. Row 1, 2, and 3, stand up. So keep mixing it up to keep the kids on their toes. They really enjoy that. And sometimes if there's one student who's not listening, when their row is called, the other students in the row kind of push the kid and say, quick, quick, stand up, it's our turn. So it really makes sure that all the kids are involved and all the kids are listening. So we start with whole group and then small groups, and then you can even go to individual students if you want. You know, Pramila, what is the name of this letter? Gaurav, what is the name of this letter? So you can go whole group, small group, individual. So after introducing the letters, we're going to have the kids locate the letters in the classroom. If there are posters in the classroom, you can say, okay, now let's find the A on the posters in the classroom. And the kids will look around the classroom. Oh, here's an A, for example, A. And you can again call on individual students. You can call on 3 or 4 students at a time if there's a lot of posters. Like here we have more letters. Find a T, so T. And if there's no posters, you can use books. So just bring books into the class and have the students find the letters in the books. So that's next. After this, the teacher will air write the letters. So when you're doing this, you just take one finger and make sure your back is turned to the students. If you're facing the students, they're seeing the letter the opposite direction. Well, T wouldn't work, but if you're doing a B looking at them, they see it as a D. So make sure your back is turned, and if you're doing A, do A, 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 A. And by saying the letter and moving your fingers, it creates a connection in their brain that makes it easier to remember. So really encourage them to say it as they're doing it. A, 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 A. And the small letter, A, 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 A. So you'll go through and do air writing with all of the letters. The next step will be games to practice the letters. So each class will have a set of letter cards. They should have at least 3 or 4 sets. And with these you can play games. So on the list we have pass the bag activity. You can get a bag, a bowl. For right now we'll use this chair. You can get anything. And if there are fans in the class, it may be difficult because the fans blow these letters away. So you might have to turn the fans off for a short time. But with the pass the bag activity, the teacher says go, and she can do a clapping rhythm or play a song. The students pass the bag in a circle, and when the teacher says stop, the student has to pick a letter out of the bag and then stand up and say the letter. A. If you have a big group, you can have 2 or 3 bags going at the same time. So in one circle there can be 2 or 3 bags rotating at any time. And when you say stop, 3 kids will have to stand up and say a letter. This just ensures that more kids are participating, which is the goal in any activity, to have as many kids participating at any one time. The rest of the games, besides the pass the bag, you can find in your game index. So here there is a picture of the activity, an explanation in Hindi, and here we just have 4 simple games which are used for letter as well as word recognition. So all these games we're learning now can also be taught during the word section as well. So we'll just quickly go through these with you. The first is word run. So with word run, or letter run in this example, you'll take 2 of the same piles. So this pile has A, T, B, C, M, F. There would be a pile here. The other pile would have A, C, T, B, M, F. Both piles would have the same thing. And you'd have 2 students stand in the back of the room. I can be 1 student. I only have 1 pile right now. So just imagine another pile and another student. And the teacher will say a letter F. And the students try to have them run farther away if possible. If you have only a little bit of space, you can have them stand right in front, but the running is also fun. So you say F, and the student has to look in the pile, where's the F? And they run, they pick up the F, and then they run back. And they hold it in front of them so everybody can see, and they say F. And if you want to ask the students, you can have the whole class say yes or no. If they have F, they'll say yes. If the student selects the wrong letter, the kids will say no. This is just another way to tie in English into the class. The more you use English, the better it is for the students. So that's word run. The next is left, right words. So with this, I need a eraser. There's the pillowcase here, I think. It's a good idea. Yeah? The videographer, who also made these pictures, said that I can use the pillowcase. So if I get in trouble, it's her fault. So here we have 2 sides, left side, right side. And we're going to split up letters. So in this scenario, we have different letters on each side. So we have F here, T here, and then we'll throw M here, and A here. So you can call 3 or 4 students to stand up and come to the board, and they stand in a line. Okay? So there's left and right. So the teacher will say 1 letter, M, and the students have to jump 1 spot to the right side because the M is on the right side. A, jump to the right. T, jump to the left. F, jump to the left. M, F. And then the students sitting down, they have to raise their right or left hand. So if you say M, the students sitting down will have to raise their right hand. F, they'll have to raise their left hand. So this gets all the students involved, and then they can take turns jumping back and forth, which they really enjoy. During this, it's important to use positive reinforcement. So if 5 kids are raising their hand and 3 kids aren't, say, Manasa, good job. You know, I'm happy that you raised your hand and you were correct. So if the students hear the positive praise, they're going to want to raise their hand as well. So make sure to watch the students sitting down and tell them good job if they're raising their hand. Instead of yelling at the kids that aren't, say something positive to the kids that are. So that's left and right words. The next is word numbers. Similar idea. I'll wash the pillowcase as well after. So no worries about that. So here we have A, M, T, F. And we have numbers underneath them. And this is a listening activity. So the teacher just says a letter, T, and the students have to put up 3 fingers. M, 2 fingers. F, 4 fingers. Or you can make it a speaking activity and just say the number. So if you say the number 4, you can say row 1, 4, and they all have to say the letter F. Row 3, 2, they have to say the letter M. And again, you can do this with individual students, especially in the beginning of class. If you want to do a quick review, you can do this for like 3 to 5 minutes and just run through a bunch of students. So I can't think of Aman. 1, and Aman would have to say A. So individual students as well is a good way to practice. And the last game is Blackboard Slack. So in this game, we would split the, and again, these same games will be used in the word part. So we don't have to learn more games, all the same ideas. So for this game, you want to split the board up into 3 or 4 parts, depending on how many kids are in the class, and you're going to put the same letters in each part. So we have T, M, A, F, but put them in different order. And as teachers for English, do not write like I'm writing now. I'm writing very sloppy. It's very important that you write neatly, because the kids learning them for the first time, they need to learn what the proper, structure of the letter is, or else it gets really confusing. So try not to use cursive when they're just learning. Try to use really neat printing. So you're going to see different orders. We have T here, T there. Put an F here, M, and A. And you'll have 3 kids come to the board. So there's 3 kids, different orders, but the same letters. And the teacher will say 1 letter, M, and the kid will have to slap the M. So each of the kids will have to go A, T, F. So each of the 3 kids would be paying attention here. And for the kids sitting down, you can ask them yes or no, are they right? Try to engage them as well during the lesson. So these are the games here. The next step is writing the words in the notebook. So after they are introduced to the letters, they practice them, then they just write them in their notebooks. And for letters that are confusing, like B and D, kids often confuse these because they look like each other. N and H they confuse because the H is just a taller thing. And P and Q is confusing. M and N. You can do special games like this and only focus on the confusing letters, just to give the kids a little bit of extra practice for those. So although you're going to introduce 4 letters per class, in the second class, review the first 4 letters and add 4 more or 3 more depending on the kids' levels. So for this would be class 1, class 2 if you're going to do another set of letters like B, S, F, we already did F, B, S, C, C is a good one. Then there'll be more letters in the game. So you can review and introduce new things in the same game. And if you see students are struggling with 1 or 2 letters, continue reviewing them. So continue adding them in the games that you do. So that's that. In the write-up, you can see the order that we're going to introduce letters. So I don't have to go through that. The next, we'll move on to word families. So this is the sheet. All of you should have the word family sheet. So you can see word families are just the endings of words. Through understanding that the AT word family sounds at, you can make 8 or 9 words by just adding one letter to the front. So this teaches the kids that words are made up of different letters or different sounds, and that every word is not completely different, but some words have patterns. So here we see for AT. And we have the word flashcards here. So for this, they're going to learn the words, how to read them, and also they should be introduced to the meaning. So teachers, if you can, get A4 paper and you can make flashcards for the words you're going to teach. And I'll show you how to do that quickly. So just with a piece of paper, you can fold it lengthwise and then fold it 2 more times the small way. And then open it, and you can simply do cat. You can write the word and draw a picture, or you can write the word on one side and draw a picture on the other side. And after you do that, you can just rip out the cards, and presto changeo. In 5 minutes, you have 8 simple flashcards. So for these word families, depending on what words you do, you should make these cards and use them as games to practice in class. The same games we just learned for the letters. So this is one task for you teachers to do, depending on how many students and what word families you're doing. So yeah, for the AT, you would do bat, picture of a bat, word bat, picture of a cat, the word cat, and so on. Okay, so the word family order that we're going to use is listed here. AT, AN, EN, IT. Through AT, you're going to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different letters. So based on the next word family you go to, introduce those letters in that order. So to do word families on the board, it's okay. You're gonna have, where'd the marker go? There it is. So we're gonna start with AT. Okay, this is our first word family, AT. And we can see if we add a B to this, bat. If we add a C to this, cat. So you can play a game with the kids where you have an AT on the board and then you say bat, and the student has to come up and make another word just by changing one letter, not erasing all of them. So they see the AT stays. This is called word transformations. So if you say the word fat, another student would have to come up and make fat. So you can go through this a few times with the kids, just so they can visually see changing one letter with the word family creates a new word. Another thing to make it fun, if you want, you can have one student come and write the letter and one student draw a picture. So bat, and then you'd have another student draw a bat. You know, or cat, and do a cat. So the kids can connect the word with the meaning as well. So this is important. So this should be a short thing. And then next with your letter cards, just like we did with the word run, you'd have 2 or 3 piles of letters here, and then you say a word. So if you say cat, the students have to use their letter cards and find C-A-T, cat. So there would be 3 kids doing this at the same time. Yeah, so you can split the kids in teams, or you can just keep calling them individually. If you want to keep points, you can. If not, also equally okay, depending on your style and how you want to run your class. So that's the word transformations and then the letter organization. So those are two of the games for words. Once you have your flashcards, it's not written in the curriculum here, but once you have your flashcards made, you can do the same games we did here, like word run and left-right words and word jump and word numbers. So these 4 games you can do with your homemade flashcards just to teach the kids the words. The next is reading. The reading, there are many different steps. I'll show you a picture of the reading text here. So this would be an example of one of the stories. This is the mid-level, so this is the 2-sentence level. So these would be students in level 3, but at a kind of higher level. So as we see, we have the title of the story, we have the vocabulary words here that they're going to learn. So the first step is pre-reading. So before the text, you're just going to discuss the title. So Manu and the Flower Pot. If the kids have struggled speaking English, you can do this in their first language. So you can see flower ke bari mein kya hota hai. In the beginning, this is okay. As you move further on and the kids start learning more words, encourage them to use more English. But the purpose of the pre-reading is just to get their brains thinking of the topic. So you can use their first language for this, but gradually add in more English. So for the pre-reading, ask questions about the main topics. Flower, have you ever seen a flower? What is your favorite flower? What different colors of flowers are there? Where do you find flowers? Just different questions to get their brains thinking in this direction. The next is pre-teaching vocabulary. So this will be step 2. For these vocabulary words, we have flashcards, which are hiding behind the board. So here we see mud, and you're going to have a flashcard that says mud. We have seeds, seeds. So first, with the kids, oh, and another thing we didn't do for letters, so this is good. With the verbs, you can have them do actions. So filled, filled, watered, watered. But still go through them and introduce the word with the picture. So here, when introducing vocabulary or letters, you can do this for letters as well. Show them seeds. First, have the kids listen. Mud, watered, flowers. Then have the kids listen and repeat. So flowers, the kids would say flowers. Seeds, the kids would say seeds, and so on. And then, with 2 words at a time, you can do a fun little thing. Now the kids, first they listen, then they repeat, then they speak. So here we pull out 1 card, they have to say seeds. And then you can kind of do it tricky, mud, and you can do the same card more time, mud, and they start guessing, mud, and they're like, where's seeds? When's seeds gonna come? And then you pull out seeds, and you can even pull out nothing, and the kids are, oh my God, nothing, what? So do that each time and go through each word like that. And again, whole group, break it down into rows, and then individual students. So you can have it at 3 different levels to ensure that the kids see these over and over again. And then you can play a game with these, the same games, the word run, the letter jump, but make these quick. So introducing the word should take about 5 minutes. The pre-reading should take about 5 minutes. A game with the words, 5 to 10 minutes. So that's 10, 20, 30 minutes, and then you'd have 15 minutes for the story, and then 15 minutes for more word family practice. And the third step here, reading the text. So first, the teacher will read, and the kids will move with their finger through the text. So the teacher simply reads, "One day, he filled the pot with mud. He planted seeds in the pot," and model it and encourage the kids to follow along with their fingers. Okay? So that's the first step of the reading. And then ask simple questions. So what is this? how many flowers are there? And again, try English, but you can use the kids' first language if they're not understanding anything. But definitely try in English and encourage them to use English. So the second time, read again. This is the time for the kids to read on their own. So you can split them up into small groups and have them practice reading individually. And for this one, we can break the pages. This would be page 1, this would be page 2, this page 3, this page 4. This other way. And if the kids are in pairs, then one kid would be number 1, the other kid would be number 2. So number 1 would read the first page, number 2, the second page, number 1, the third page, and so on. And once they read the whole story, have them start over and switch. So number 2 would read the first page. So each kid gets a chance to read each page of the book, and they have their partner to support them if they need help. So after individually reading, come back as a group, and we can call on individual students to read. So we'll have Manu, can you read the first sentence? Manu had a pot. Next we'll have Ravindranath, can you read the second sentence? One day he filled the pot with mud. And then call on students one by one to go through and read aloud. And you can even make it exciting. Who wants to read like I did, when you first read the text? And try and get the kids excited about reading. So after reading again, the 5th step will be to have the students retell the story in their own words. And again, this can be in Hindi or their local language. So, story is kahani kya ke bari mein? Ke baad, the students explain, blah blah blah. It was about a flower in a pot and what to do to take care of the plants. And again, encourage them to use more and more English. The quiz, just ask basic questions to the students. Was it a boy or a girl that was in the story? Was the pot big or small? And you can gauge the difficulty of the question based on the student's level. And lastly, number 7 is role play. If the story, if you can do a role play with the story, try and do that. So if the story, there's one with a deer and a rabbit running and they bump their foot. So if you can do that, have the students reenact the story. This kind of gives them another way to visualize and see the story. So that's that. So if the students are at reading level, you should try and get through one text in 2 or 3 days with all these 7 levels. And in your lesson, you'd want to break up maybe 20 minutes for word families and then 40 minutes for going through the text. But always have a little bit of a balance where they learn some words and then they learn the text. And for the students at the letter level, have them spend some time with the letters and then get into words. So the same letters they'd be learning would be the same word families they'd be learning. So that is the general gist. One more thing, after the students learn words or letters, you can do review in the beginning of the next lesson. So this could be speed review. If you have flashcards, if you have 3 sets of flashcards, maybe ask 2 other volunteers to help you to lead this. So you'd have 3 lines and 3 people standing with flashcards, and you'd quickly go through seeds, next kid comes, mud, next kid comes, flower, and this is rapid, rapid, rapid. So in 5 or 6 minutes, all the kids would have run through and read 3 or 4 letters. And you can do the same, or words, and you can do the same with letters. So T, A, and do this really quick. And after you do it individually, come back as a whole group and do it again. So all the kids sitting down, happy, and then they'll start yelling the words out, sad, watered. So you can go through and do that quickly. And that's it. Remember with the verbs, have them do the actions too. So water, and even with the nouns, if you want to be creative, you can do flower, or something like that, where they enact flower, mud, mud. The more active different kids like to learn in an active way, so the more active it is, the more learners you would activate. I think that's it. If there's any questions you still have, tell your trainer who you're directly working with, and they can tell me, or you can directly contact me, ask them for my email. So that's it. I hope you have fun at the camp and look forward to seeing pictures and hearing stories about how it goes. Okay, bye-bye.